Our topic today is entrepreneurial mindset. Between myself and Stanley, we've got approximately 50 years of experience, business experience. Mine spanning from business consultancy, banking and finance, and property management. And same, I'll allow him to do his introduction. But between us, we've got about 50 years of experience. So this topic is very apt for us. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at the mindset of entrepreneurs. We're going to look at their attributes. We'll look into the issue whether entrepreneurs are born or they're actually made. So we'll look at that and then we'll see where we go from there. We're going to share a few case studies and find out if you need to be mega rich to go into business. You may or may not realize that it's not the money that will make you a businessman or not. And hopefully, we'll be able to ignite something in you today and see how we can move from there. Just to start with, just on the show of hands, how many people run their businesses here? A few handful. Whether you're self-employed, if you work for somebody else, you're not, if you work for somebody else and you don't have the total control, that's slightly different because somebody tells you what to do, how to do it, and go about it. We're talking of a situation where you are fully in control of what happens, how it happens, and so on and so forth. Right, okay, so a few people actually had to take their hands off. Yeah? All right, okay. You can come here because, yeah, that'll help, okay. All right, okay, so basically, who's an entrepreneur? This is a person, a starter, an initiator, a challenger. So it's somebody that creates something new, and it's either an initiative, a business, a company, and this person is usually the beginning, and sometimes it's the end. Why do we say that? Because you find that some businesses that you go into, when the main guy, the main driver is gone, the business goes down naturally. You must have come in contact with that, where the main driver takes ill and the business plummets. Or the main driver, the person who's actually the vision, or somebody who's got the visionary behind that business, the moment they go down, the business gradually goes down. So that's why we're saying that the person could be the beginning and it could also be the end, because when they die, the business dies a natural death. It could be a venture, and those were the quotations of Joan Jos. Okay? Now, we're talking of the mindset of an entrepreneur. What do you mean by mindset? Your mindset is the way you deal with challenges. I think our brother was talking earlier on that when you're going through stress, the way you react to that stress may be different from the way I react to it. And it's the degree of the change in terms of our mindset or attitude towards that situation that makes a world of difference. You find some people go down and they go down and down and down. And some people go down and they bounce up again. So that's the mindset. The way you react to mistakes, I say to people, if you're not prepared to fail, don't start. So you find a lot of people, they want to go into business, but they're more worried about failing. And for that, they fail to start. So it's a mindset. If you're not prepared to fail, please don't start. But if you're prepared to fail, then what's going to happen when you fail? Are you going to stay down there? I used to share an example that you don't drown when you fall into water, but you drown when you remain in the water. So when you fall down, what do? Are you going to be ready to get up and go, try again, and try again? You remember the man who discovered electricity. How many times did he try before he got light? So if you had given up on the first attempt, or second attempt, or third attempt, we wouldn't have lights today, would we? So if you're going to make a start, you've got to be ready to make mistakes. But you've got to have that mental attitude where you're saying, even if I fall, even if I fail, I'm going to get up and try again, and then try again, and try again. So that's the mindset of an entrepreneur. So your willingness to get up and go, even in the midst of setbacks, that oomph to get going. That's the mindset of an entrepreneur. And I bet there must be lots of you in the audience who's probably got this mindset. I think we're going to look at what happens because a lot of people have been planning to set up in business, but they keep postponing and postponing and postponing, and it never gets to happen. Can we have the next slide, please? Let's deal with the question, are they born or made? There's been the ongoing debate whether entrepreneurs are born, that is in their DNA, or they are made. And at the moment, one of the most effective studies, whether it's nurture or nature, was actually done by Scott Shane, a professor of entrepreneurial studies. I think himself and some of his fellow researchers compared entrepreneurial activities of about 870 pairs of twins. Now, why did they pick twins? They picked twins because they've got common DNA. They've got similar identity. So that if twin A is doing it, chances are that twin B will do it. But what they tried to do was to look at 870 pairs of them. And these are people with 100% of genes. And then they also looked about 857 pair of same-sex, twins, who share 50%. Okay? Now, let's not go into the mathematics behind this. But what they concluded was that 40% of them were born and 60% are made. In other words, the proportion of the people who are actually born as entrepreneurs is significantly less than people who are made. So chances are that because Bill Gates has been a very successful businessman, chances are that the children will go on to become very successful business people. I know some of you are going to sit back there, their dad will actually give them money. But it's not the money that's going to drive them. What's going to drive them is that innate ability, that thing that's already in the DNA that's going to drive them to do what dad has done. And chances are some of them will actually go to exceed what he has done, hopefully. And a last famous survey, they believe that higher education played any role. I mean, very few believe that education. So we believe that I know there are some professions where you have to get to the epitome of your profession before you can do anything. But what this survey is telling us is education on its own was not the main driver, or wouldn't be the main driver. So there's something over and above that education. So irrespective of the level of education, there must be something over and above that for you to be able to get to that next level where you can get up and go and do what you need to do. But please, let's understand that these research findings were not looking at the success rate. So the fact that twin A and twin B have been able to set up a business does not necessarily mean that they've all gone to become successful. You don't just want to set up business for the sake of it. What you're looking is success in that business. So there must be something over and above twins just setting up in business. We looked at another role, another research that was done by Professor Shaw. It was based on 2.8 million small businesses. And, some of the findings were applied whether they were born or made. And they concluded that regardless of the tendency to start business, the determining factors seem to be pinned on experience. So experience has come to play now. So it's not your education alone, it's your experience. And as we're going to see later in this conversation, you find that some of the people that have gone on to become successful are people that have actually had lots of experience in the field before going into business on their own. Right, like we said, some people will say, I don't have a lot of money, so I cannot start. Now, let's look at a few examples of people that have started with very little or nothing. How many of us know the founder of WhatsApp? We all use WhatsApp, I suspect. Now, okay. Now, let me say this, that the man who set up WhatsApp, the outcome that we have today is not exactly what he had in mind. And I was checking before we started this chat that about 1.5 billion people actually use WhatsApp today. So if you imagine if you had that vision that, WhatsApp was set up around about 2009. So we're looking at 10 years ago. And you now have users. So imagine if he was charging WhatsApp users £1. The guy is already sitting on 1.5 billion pounds or dollars. That's a lot of money we're talking about. Okay, let me not run through all of this, but the other one I'm going to point out is Kevin Plank. He founded Under Armour. His apron is a sports apron. And this guy was basically broke when he set up that business. And today, that business, the market capitalization is over 10 billion. So you cannot be working for people and earn this amount of money or be worth this amount of money. Apart from the likes of Facebook, Google, who have actually generated more millionaires than any other company. I don't know any other business that will create the number of millionaires that we have around the world today. In other words, you're not likely going to become mega rich by remaining in somebody else's employment. So you have to be ready to move out there and get it cracking on your own. Now, what are the lessons? Before that, I think there's a debate that I'd like to share very quickly. George Soros was the man who broke the Bank of England. Some of you probably already know the history. But some of you already know about George Soros. The issue is George Soros is actually a fund manager. He's a fund manager. But the issue with George Soros is there is debate today whether you can actually see him as an entrepreneur or an investor. Whichever side of the debate, he made huge sums of money by predicting what's going to happen to the pound sterling. And that was the beginning of his money. But what do we have that's running through all of these individuals? We didn't go through all of them one by one. One of them is debt. That's borrowing money. It's a good option. But let me just put a caveat there. It's debt that will go into the business, not debt that will buy you BMW or to buy you 4x4. It is not debt that will buy you a bigger house, please. We're talking of good debt. There's good debt and bad debt. Good debt is money that will bring income back into your pocket. Some of you that have read The Rich Kid, Poor Dad will tell you that. There is good debt and there is bad debt. There is debt that will bring money into your wallet. There's the one that will take away. Your 4x4, it's not going to put money in your pocket. That will take money away from your pocket. Your big house, whether it's in Nigeria or anywhere, that's not rented out, is going to take money from you because you're going to need money to actually maintain that property. So there's good debt and there's bad debt. I'm talking of good debt here, please, gentlemen. You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to understand what you're doing, even if it's by way of CPD or continued professional development. But I'll say whatever you do, you must invest in yourself. You've got to look at the future, and then you've got to be ready and willing to move away from your comfort zone. How many minutes have I got? Okay, 1 minute. Next slide. Let me see what I can do quickly. Is age holding you back? If you're, looking at the faces here, I'm assuming that the majority are over the age of 40. Yeah? Will I be correct in saying that? I don't want you to hands up so we don't give it away. But the truth of the matter is, don't get worried even if you're getting there. Research has shown that most of the people that have been successful are people who actually started business in their older years in life. Because you've had the experience, which we talked about before, and now it's time for you to put that into action. So please don't get worried. How many of you use glasses today? How many of you use glasses today? Right, I can see a handful. The man who actually invented varifocal was 76 years of age when he invented it. So you're not too old to get it going. Okay? The average age, look at 55, you've got 50, you've got 75. Carol Slim, and so on. So age is not the issue. The key thing is your readiness and willingness to make a start, and then other things will fall in place. There will be challenges. I'm not going to say to you it's going to be easy. There will be challenges, but like I said to you, if you're not prepared to fail, please don't start. If you're prepared to fail and acknowledge that you can always bounce back, if you've got that willpower, you will bounce back. And I'll tell you, in the final analysis, you can look back in time and feel, my goodness, I never envisaged this coming. I think on that note, I'm going to hand over to Stanley, and he will share a few slides. We've got a few case studies to share with you, and maybe that will ignite you a bit more. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Vincent. Yeah. Vincent talked about age. Age is critical. But risk, when you want to take risk, I think people in their 20s and people above 55 can take any risk. And the reason is because the rest of the years are the family years. You're trying to train the kids, they are in the university, and you probably will not want to take a lot of risk. But if you are over 50, then you should be ready. You should be ready to lose money. And it's also, and when you are, when you, okay, and in your 20s, I remember, one of the best advice I got, just finished from graduate school, got a job in a bank, and then some of you might know him, Ebitmi Banigo, when he hired me, one of the advice he gave is said, you need to make your money work for you, even as you're working, and just put 10,000 naira into stock every month, and continue to do your banking. Just do that, and down the years, you can take account of what has happened. And after 23 years, that was the best advice I ever got. So again, in your 20s, you can also, as you're starting off, have an idea, have that desire to make your money work for you. It doesn't matter the amount, but just let it be working while you're doing other things. Okay, I'm going to talk on the attributes of entrepreneurs. But one I want to share, great entrepreneurs, every business needs entrepreneurs, even if you're running your own. The most productive companies are the ones that the employees have an entrepreneurial mindset. Those are the ones you don't want to lose. They are the disruptors. They don't work for their pension. Entrepreneurs are not interested in pension. They want to create value. And creating value means they will always come forward with ideas on how you can do better. They are never satisfied. When I was running a bank, my biggest worry was always losing the good staff. And the good ones, they hardly stay. And those are the ones that have the entrepreneurial mindset. They are not interested in pension. I remember I was taken to the Ministry of Finance then, in the country where I was working, because I reduced pension to save costs because they were not productive. There are some you will be praying that they go. But they won't resign. Let me. The next slide, please. Okay, the first attribute. They are curious seekers of adventure, learning, and opportunity. They are very, very, very adventurous. And I will give the example of Jeff Bezos. He had a high-paying job. It was a big risk, but he left it. If he was interested in pension, if he wanted the comfort zone, there's no way he was going to leave the high-paying job that he had to go and start up Amazon in a garage. And we know the story of Amazon today. You got to be able to take the risk. Take the risk. Go down again. They are comfortable with risk. A lot of us are not comfortable with risk, but if you don't take risk, you can't make money. There is a risk reward. We talk about it in finance. The higher the risk, the higher the reward, up to a certain level anyway. So we know the story of Elon Musk. When he started off, I think at a point he sold everything he had and was actually living in a rented apartment, even though he had about $165 million, which he invested and rented. How many of us would do that? You have $165 million, but you're living in a rented apartment because he was investing. That's an entrepreneur. Sorry? Yeah. Not a school. They are driven by the need to own a product. The passion is about, I need to own this thing. It's about me. So if you have that passion, you'll always be involved. The thing that made you start will always guide you. The passion is there. Steve Jobs, up to the time he died, he was still involved in the design. He was still a mechanic. He was still, involved in every design of Apple, every product design. He didn't say, okay, now I'm the boss. Because he sees the product, something that is more than himself. He wants to make sure that founder mentality, which is very critical, the founder mentality is very critical in every. If you don't have the founder mentality, and you need to, if you are starting off, the team, you need to have that mentality, the mentality of selflessness. He has to create it in them. I remember in one of the products, I can't remember the iPhone now, when he did not do what he was supposed to do, he gathered all the engineers and said, what was this product meant to do? They said it. And what is this product doing? They said it. Totally different from what it was meant to do. So, that focus is so critical. The founder mentality, to drive it. Every discussion, the design, they will always be involved. They want people to see them. Go back. Just once more. They want people to see them as the people who can make ideas happen. That's it. Okay, go. Next one. Entrepreneurs think big. And here, I'll give the example. This is a quote from Aliko Dangote. For you to make it, you really have to think big. You have to dream big to be able to be big. Don't correct English, whether it's right or not. Okay. And, that is the thing that would drive him to rise up again. When you think big, even if you're approaching a bank, if they're assessing your loan proposal, they want to see, the manager is looking at you, he's looking at your communication, he's looking at the ideas you have. If you're not thinking big, you won't be able to make a good presentation to get a loan. So you need to have that mindset that I'm in for the big thing. I must get it right. Dangote had a lot of failures, and Vin touched on it. He went into so many things, banking. He went into banking, went into industries. It didn't work. And you need to get it right again as an entrepreneur. Because when you expand, it's like what Google has done. They created Alphabet, other companies under it. But everything must align with the original vision. Very important. So Dangote went into banking, but there was a conflict because you're into banking and you need a loan from the bank. So he wasn't, he's going to influence loan disbursement, and the discipline of servicing the loan will not be there because the need is always there. So you're going to have problem with the regulators, and that's why he came out of banking. I said, okay, no, let me just focus on. He also went into industries, had a textile, had 6,000 staff. He closed it down and went on to something else. He failed. So the big entrepreneurs also failed. He failed a lot. I remember I started a business with some people in Nigeria, and Nigeria is a good place to invest for all of you. The first year, our turnover was about £1 million. The next year, £1 million, converted. It was an entertainment and hospitality combination. But because of some other thing I'll share with you, the next year was a different story. Not a positive one. Yeah. Okay, let's go on. Why do startups fail? So why do startups fail? The top 20 reasons why startups fail. Number one, no market need. 42% of businesses, startups fail because there's no market need for what they've started. People just, you have an idea, but you don't even know whether the market needs it. And you just go into it. The next one, run out of cash. You need to do your due diligence if you're going to start. What more do I need? People are always positive. In my experience in banking, if a borrower if they know that, okay, if I ask for £20,000, I'll get it, even though the business will cost me 50. But I know if I go for 50, they won't give me. The business will fail because already you're going to run out of cash. but you just want to get the money, and you'll be able to service the loan in the end of the day. Next one, not the right team. That's why our business collapsed. I was involved with the wrong people. Yeah. Yeah, can happen to you. Yeah, yeah, of course. Oh, they were Nigerians. Okay. The next one. The next one says you got out-competed. You need to size up your competition before you get into anything. Who are the people there? What is your competence compared to their own competence? Can I really deal with these guys? Very, very important. That's it's about 19% pricing and cost issues. Well, have you dealt with it? Have you looked at your pricing? Can you really deliver based on your cost? Is there a margin? If you don't have a margin, don't go into it. Poor product. It's not very, very, a lot of people fail because the product is just poor. Need and lack business model. There's no business model, just push them into the market. Poor marketing, very, very critical. Are you doing online media, whatever it is? It doesn't matter what you're involved in. Even if you're a medical practitioner, you need to have a marketing strategy. It's very important to deliver to your customers or would-be customers. You ignore customers. It doesn't matter the profession you are in. The customer is the center of the business, and you must always have a passion to satisfy them. Product mismatch, lose focus. Sometimes we lose focus. The percentages are there. Investor disagreement. People quarrel a lot. Even in the big businesses, when investors disagree, the business is gone. Pivot gone bad. Business, you always have to. Sometimes you go in, it doesn't work out, you come back, you go this direction. It's very important. So always be ready to be flexible, in it. When you don't get it right, it will also cause the business to fail. A lack of passion. You have to be passionate. The big thing about entrepreneurs, they are very passionate. They don't give up. When they were talking about stress, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, be ready for stress. You got to be ready. But it pays at the end of the day. Bad location. Yeah, it's very important. In UK, there was a time myself and my wife wanted to buy a shop, Okay. And I did the survey. I mean, my own business market survey I did. Part of the problem we had was the location of because I knew that if we buy that business there, it wasn't going to work. And along the line, we just declined. I think that was no financing and investor interest. They will go for loan. You can get money to finance, but let it be something. You have to make sure the business can pay the interest. Legal challenges can also be a problem. No network of advisors. Always go to professional advisors. They can add value to what you want to do. And sometimes we just burn out. Also part of it. Next slide. Just the last one. Okay. Record of billionaires. USA, China, Germany, Russia, UK, Africa. I hope one of us will join this group very soon. In Jesus' name. Amen. Okay.
Praise the Lord. You did mention about taking risks. When the age to take risks and not to take. When I was in my younger years, I took some risks in shares, options, put option, and it appeared to be doing well, but I got myself badly burnt. But I bounced back. Now I advise my kids, they are growing 30s. You can take risks now, but when you get to my age, don't take it. There'll be no time to bounce back. But your advice appears to go to the opposite. Because at my age now, you say it's time to. I'm ring fencing every... So what that advice, does it really apply?
Okay, what I was saying is that if in your 20s, you are very, very open-minded, you're ready to dive into, you can take skydive anytime. And it's also a good time for us to make certain investment decisions that we can also count back on when we grow. When we, at 50, over 50, you're saying all your kids are probably out of uni. Or maybe if they are not, maybe they are on the way to that. Okay, so at that point, you are also liberated. What I'm saying is that you are again liberated. Look at the guy, the KFC guy. You know, if we relax, because what is happening is that a lot of us, maybe when we're 55 to 60, we think the only thing we can be doing is just maybe plan holidays. No. We can do a lot to create value. Because at that point, your mind is again liberated. Depending on how you have fashioned it, your mind is again liberated and should be ready to take more risk. But your kids, at certain age, they probably will be, oh, I need to be sure that I have money to pay school fees and all, or to take care of the family. I can't take those risks. But people over 55, so if your mind has been properly tuned, you'll be ready to take more risk. And you're going to make more money again.
There's no 100% guarantee that any risk.
Of course.
Please, when you were talking, you actually let us know that a business could collapse, that you had an experience. And then, but you didn't tell us why. From what you said, it appears to me that your partners may have contributed to the failure, or that you chose the wrong partners. Now, as Christians, and going by the biblical ethics and instructions, when it says, do not be equally yoked with an unbeliever. In the business world, it looks like we have people we can work with that are unbelievers. Some of them are goal-getters. But at times, when we get to things like board meetings, you find out that the principle that you operate on as a Christian sometimes don't work with them. And then sometimes your business could fail because you're not actually working from the same perspective in terms of faith. So how do you relate this to Christian investment? And vis-a-vis, give us a clue why the people you choose messed up your business in Nigeria. Thank you.
The team selection is critical. And I'll tell you up front, the people I had the business with are Christians. But Christian is, business failure, it didn't have to do with any corrupt practice. No. It's just about individual personal persuasion. For me, as far as I'm concerned, we needed to be reinvesting in the business to grow it. It was a question of we shouldn't be sharing. A lot wanted, no, we made so much money, we need to go to the market. We just need to start celebrating. That's a major disagreement. Now, when you have that kind of disagreement, when you start sharing, and you don't have any reserve, because again, as a business, you need to create reserve, so that you don't even know the challenges you're going to face. Some are unpredictable. Some could be regulatory that will require you to dip into your reserve to prop up the business. That was not there. So it was part of the problem we have. In fact, I had another failure with another group, these Nigerians, South Africans, and an American. Now, it's a totally different one, but everything is also reflected in those numbers. It's not like I've not had successes, but what I'm just trying to convey is that you must be ready, to walk into the minefield and hope that the mine doesn't get you if you're going to win. It's very critical. But you can actually form a business with 3 people in this room, and your perspective will be totally different, even though you all preach the same gospel and all that. So in business, it's totally the persuasion of the individual, which is always driven by their personal circumstances. So,
God's principle for success is universal. His reign falls on both the good and the bad. And he actually requires us to engage the world and spread his character. So we are allowed to do business with the unbelievers. We need to engage them, but we need to be different. And my question is, how do you open this? Scripture in Deuteronomy. I'll read. It says, for the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised, and you will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. This is a hindering factor for Christians to engage in business because there's a potential to borrow. And Jesus said, owe no man anything. They don't want to owe people, and rapture comes, the weight drops them down. So, so what do you do? What do we as Christians do about that?
Actually, when you borrow right, you are not really owing. Because if you come to a bank to borrow, what the bank is looking at your future. And when they discount that future to now, it should be in positive. So, if that future is discounted to now and is negative, the bank will not give you money. So, in actual fact, if you follow through with what you have put forward to the bank, you are not owing. If it's the right borrowing. But if there is a problem with your calculation and you have maybe messed up the cash flow, and with discount you have said between now 3 years time I'm going to be earning £500, but it actually should be £300, and then with this, the bank is going to discount the 500 to now, and you're in positive, so you are not really borrowing. You are not in negative, you are still positive if you're truthful in your borrowing. Did you get it? Okay. So you shouldn't be concerned about, and that's why when Vin was presenting, he said, as long as the debt will create value, you're okay. You're okay. Even if you're borrowing from your friend, just make sure that you've said, I'm going to pay you in 1 year time. 1 year time, you borrowed 100,000 right now. 1 year time, you're expecting 150. We discount the 150 now. You probably will be 110. So you are in positive, not really negative. And that's how the borrowing concept works, if you want to get it.
Okay, we're pressed for time, so I'll be very quick. This question is for Stanley. Twofold. What is your approach to tithing and offering from a business perspective, especially when your company formation is one where you may be the majority stakeholder of the business, but the other stakeholders or shareholders are maybe not of the same faith as you are. Secondly, I'm someone who believes in managing risk. So what strategies do you implement to manage risk with the businesses that you've had in the past and the businesses that you run now? Thank you.
Okay, on the tithe, I mean, if you're in partnership with people who are not Christians, definitely your tithe will be based on your stake on the business. So if you're holding 10% and if you get 10% of the profit, your tithe should be based on the 10% of the profit that you own. Managing risk, it depends on the kind of business you're running, but there's a simple structure for managing risk. You need to identify them. Where is it going to occur? In fact, when you identify them, proactively assign it out. If this risk occurs, how are we going to deal with it? Who is responsible? There has to be a risk owner at every point in time. If it's just you, if it's just a sole prop, it means that you're the one that will identify it, you're the one that will assign it, you're the one that will be the risk owner. And then you also need to know at what point is this risk going to occur, the timeline, because some risk will occur now, some are going to be in a month, some will be in a year. And then, so it's depending on the kind of business, you just have to know the pitfalls. What are the challenges that can come? Because when you're talking about risk, it's just, what are the business challenges I could face? How do I deal with them when they occur? Don't wait for them to occur before you set a strategy on how to deal with them. So different businesses have different risk structures, but then it is a simple thing of identifying, assigning, managing, and then having a responsibility for it.